7 Budgeting Tips I Wish I Knew Sooner, Beginner's Guide. Managing money can feel overwhelming, especially when you're just starting out. I used to think budgeting meant restricting myself, but over time, I realized it's actually about freedom, knowing where your money goes and making it work for you. In this video, I'll share 7 simple budgeting tips I wish I knew sooner. Whether you're saving for your goals, paying off debt, or just trying to stretch your income, these beginner-friendly strategies will help you take control of your finances with confidence. So before we start, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. 1. Why budgeting matters. When I first started managing my finances, I thought budgeting was just another word for cutting back or depriving myself of things I loved. In reality, budgeting is one of the most powerful tools anyone can use to build financial stability and freedom. A budget isn't about restriction, it's about clarity. It shows you exactly where your money is going, whether it's necessary expenses like rent and groceries, or less obvious leaks like subscriptions you forgot about, or impulse shopping. Without a budget, it's easy to feel like your money disappears every month without knowing why. But once you start tracking and planning, you begin to see opportunities for saving, investing, and achieving your goals. Budgeting also builds discipline, which is an essential life skill. It teaches you how to prioritize needs over wants, set aside funds for emergencies, and make intentional choices with money instead of reacting emotionally. Studies consistently show that people who follow a written budget are more likely to pay off debt, save for retirement, and avoid financial stress. 2. Track every expense. One of the first and most valuable lessons I learned is that you cannot improve what you don't measure. Tracking your expenses may sound tedious, but it's the cornerstone of effective budgeting. In the beginning, I underestimated how much small purchases added up, things like coffee, snacks, or ride-sharing apps. When I finally started recording every expense, I was shocked by the patterns I saw. Tracking doesn't just highlight where your money is going. It reveals your spending habits and unconscious choices. There are several ways to track expenses, depending on your lifestyle. Traditionalists might prefer writing things down in a notebook, while others use spreadsheets, budgeting apps, or even automated bank alerts. The method doesn't matter as much as the consistency. Once you gather a month's worth of data, you'll see exactly how much you spend on categories like food, entertainment, transportation, and bills. This visibility allows you to identify leaks and make adjustments. For example, if you realize you're spending $200 a month eating out, you might decide to reduce that by half and redirect the savings toward debt or an emergency fund. Tracking also helps prevent surprises, like overdraft fees or overspending before payday. 3. Separate needs from wants. Early on, I often confused what I wanted with what I truly needed, and that mistake cost me money and progress. Understanding the difference between needs and wants is a game changer in budgeting. Needs are essentials: housing, food, utilities, transportation, healthcare, and minimum debt payments. Wants are the extras, the things that add comfort, fun, or luxury to life, like dining out, streaming subscriptions, gadgets, or vacations. Neither category is bad. The key is to recognize which is which and prioritize accordingly. Beginners often overspend on wants because they don't consciously distinguish them. By separating the two, you gain clarity on what expenses are necessary for survival and stability, versus what expenses can be adjusted or cut without harming your basic well-being. One useful framework is the 50-30-20 rule, which allocates 50% of your income to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings or debt repayment. Of course, the percentages can vary depending on your situation, but the principle remains: needs first, then wants, then financial goals. This doesn't mean you should deny yourself enjoyment. It means you approach wants with intention. 4. Build an emergency fund. One of the most important budgeting lessons I learned is the necessity of an emergency fund. Life is unpredictable, and unexpected expenses can derail your financial progress if you're unprepared. Emergencies come in many forms: medical bills, car repairs, job loss, or sudden home expenses. Without savings, these situations force people to rely on credit cards or loans, creating debt and long-term stress. An emergency fund acts as a financial safety net, protecting you from falling into a cycle of borrowing. Experts recommend starting with at least $1,000 as a beginner's emergency fund, then building up to 3 to 6 months of living expenses over time. This may sound overwhelming, but the key is consistency. Set aside a small portion of your income each month, even if it's only $25 or $50. Over time, these small contributions grow, and more importantly, they give you peace of mind. Having money set aside reduces financial anxiety, allowing you to handle unexpected events without panic. 5. Create a realistic budget. One of my early mistakes was creating a budget that looked perfect on paper, but was impossible to follow in real life. Beginners often set overly strict rules, cutting out every enjoyable expense, and then feel frustrated when they fail to stick to it. The secret is creating a budget that's realistic, flexible, and sustainable. A budget should reflect your actual lifestyle, not an idealized version of it. For instance, if you know you enjoy eating out occasionally, include it in your plan, instead of pretending you'll never spend on restaurants again. This way, you avoid guilt and overspending. Start by listing your income sources, then categorize your expenses into fixed rent, utilities, insurance and variable food, entertainment, shopping. Next, set spending limits for each category based on past tracking data. Be honest about your habits and adjust as needed. Remember, a budget is a living document. It evolves with your circumstances. You may need to revise it when your income changes, when you pay off debt, or when new goals arise. 6. Automate savings and bills. Consistency is everything when it comes to money management, and automation is the easiest way to stay consistent. In the beginning, I relied on memory and discipline to save money and pay bills, but this often led to missed deadlines, late fees, or forgetting to set aside savings. Once I discovered automation, my financial life changed. Automating your savings means setting up automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings account as soon as your paycheck arrives. This way, you pay yourself first, instead of waiting to see what's left at the end of the month. Even small amounts, like $50 per paycheck, add up significantly over time without requiring constant effort. Similarly, automating bill payments helps avoid late fees, penalties, and stress. Most banks and service providers offer automatic payment options, ensuring your fixed expenses are covered on time. 7. Cut unnecessary costs. Another budgeting tip I wish I had learned earlier is the power of cutting unnecessary expenses. At first, I thought budgeting was all about earning more, but in reality, saving money can be just as effective as increasing income. Many people spend far more than they realize on things that don't add real value to their lives. Subscriptions you forgot to cancel, impulse purchases, brand loyalty when cheaper alternatives exist, or paying for convenience that isn't truly necessary. These are silent money drains. The first step is conducting a financial audit. Review your last few bank statements and highlight recurring charges or expenses you can eliminate. Ask yourself, do I really use this? Does it bring me enough value to justify the cost? If not, cancel it or downgrade it. Another effective approach is implementing a 24-hour or 48-hour rule for discretionary spending. This pause helps reduce impulse buying by forcing you to think about whether you truly need the item. Cutting costs doesn't mean living miserably. It's about aligning your spending with your priorities. If you liked this video and would like to see more like it, please give it the thumbs up. Leave a comment and click the button to subscribe.